Hey guys. Tonight we're going back to the cold, dark waters of the North Atlantic, during the Second World War. We're going to step into the life of a single sailor, a face in a crew packed into a steel tube far beneath the waves. It's a story of pressure, both outside the hull and within the mind. So, if you're ready, go ahead and hit that like button, and let me know in the comments where in the world you're listening from tonight. It's always amazing to see how far these stories travel. Now, find a comfortable position. Dim the lights, close your eyes, and let the world outside just fade away. Let your breathing slow down. We're leaving the surface behind. You wake up not because of the light, but because of the pressure. A hand, rough and calloused, is pressing firmly on your shoulder, shaking you from a shallow, dreamless sleep. The voice that accompanies it is a low rasp, a sound you've come to associate with the rude interruption of what little peace you can find. Aufstehen, wacha, get up, watch. The hand is gone as quickly as it came, and you are left in the dim, stale darkness of the forward torpedo room, which doubles as your sleeping quarters. The only light is the faint, bloody glow of the emergency lamps, casting long, distorted shadows that dance with the gentle, rhythmic roll of the boat. For a moment, you lie perfectly still, listening. You try to discern your reality. Are you on the surface, or submerged? The sound gives you the answer. It's not the thundering, vibrating roar of the diesel engines, the sound that shakes your teeth and makes the very steel of the hull feel alive. No, this is a different sound. A softer, more insidious one. It's the low, persistent hum of the electric motors, a constant, gentle thrum that you feel more in your bones than you hear with your ears. It is the sound of being deep. The sound of being hunted. You swing your legs out of the bunk, your bare feet meeting the cold, perpetually damp steel of the deck. The bunk you just vacated is not truly yours. It belongs to the watch system. A man whose watch has just ended will soon crawl into the space you have left, into the warmth your body has created. They call it hot bunking, a grimly practical solution to the fact that there are 50 men crammed into a space designed for perhaps half that number. Your bedding, a thin mattress and a coarse woolen blanket, feels clammy to the touch. It smells of sweat, of diesel oil, and of the faint, sweet scent of mildew that permeates everything within this steel coffin. You never feel truly dry here. A cold, seeping dampness is your constant companion, clinging to your clothes, your skin, your very lungs. You reach for your clothes, which hang from a hook beside your bunk. Your shirt is stiff with dried sweat and salt. Pulling it on, the fabric is cold and rough against your skin. Your trousers are heavy, stained with grease and something you hope is just soup. As you pull them on, you have to brace yourself against the bulkhead as the U-boat gives a slow, ponderous lurch to port. You are a creature of the sea now, your body learning to anticipate its movements, to sway with its rhythm like a drunken dancer. Your boots are the final piece of your uniform. They are heavy leather, and the insides are slick with condensation. You tug them on, the cold leather shocking your feet. Lacing them up is an act of muscle memory, your fingers finding the laces in the near darkness, pulling them tight. Around you, other men are sleeping. You can hear their soft snores, the occasional whimper or a muttered word from a dream of home. There are 20 men packed into this compartment, sleeping amongst the 4 forward torpedo tubes. The tubes themselves, massive bronze cylinders, dominate the space. They are the iron fists of the Reich, the reason you are all here, floating in this cold, dark abyss. They gleam with a faint, oily sheen in the red light, their circular loading doors like giant, unblinking eyes. Above them, spare torpedoes, the deadly eels, are slung in brackets, looking like metallic sharks waiting to be unleashed. The air here is thick, a palpable entity that you could almost carve with a knife. It's a cocktail of smells, a layered symphony of stench that you've become tragically accustomed to. The dominant note is the sharp, acrid bite of diesel fuel, a perfume that has seeped into the very pores of the boat. Underneath that is the smell of unwashed bodies, the sour tang of 50 men living in close quarters without the luxury of regular showers. There's the smell of cooking oil and boiled cabbage from the tiny galley, a smell that seems to cling to the recycled air for days. And beneath it all, the ever-present, cloying scent of the toilet, the head, which is located just aft of your position. Its plumbing is notoriously unreliable, and its aroma is a frequent and unwelcome guest in every compartment. You take a breath, the familiar thickness filling your lungs, and you feel the slight headache that is your constant companion begin to throb behind your eyes. You need to make your way to the engine room, your station. This is a journey of contortions. You turn sideways, sucking in your gut to squeeze past the narrow gap between the torpedo racks and the starboard bunks. Your hand brushes against a sleeping man's face, and he grunts without waking. You whisper a silent apology and press on. You move through the boat like a worm through a maze, your hands and shoulders constantly brushing against pipes, valves, and wires that line the curved hull. The corridor is not a corridor in the traditional sense. It is merely the path of least resistance through a jungle of machinery. You pass through the radio room, a tiny alcove crammed with electronic equipment. The radio operator, hunched over his receiver with headphones clamped to his ears, doesn't even look up as you pass. He is listening for ghosts, for the faint whispers from home or the telltale signals of the enemy. His face is pale in the glow of his instruments, a mask of intense concentration. You move on, into the control room, the brain of the U-boat. Here, the air is thick with tension. The captain, the Chilean, stands near the periscope well, his silhouette a study in stillness. He is a young man, younger than you'd expect, but his eyes hold the weary weight of a man twice his age. He sips from a tin mug, his gaze fixed on the depth gauge. The needle hovers at 150 meters. A safe depth, for now. The helmsmen sit at their stations, their hands gripping the wheels that control the boat's dive planes and rudder. Their faces illuminated by the green glow of the compass and the inclinometers. Every man in this room is focused, their movements economical and precise. There is no wasted energy, no idle chatter. Just the low hum of the motors, the gentle creak of the hull, and the soft hiss of the air purifiers. You duck under a massive ventilation duct and push through the heavy curtain that separates the control room from the aft compartments. The temperature immediately rises by several degrees. The smell of diesel becomes overpowering. You are entering your domain, the diesel engine room. Even though the electric motors are currently running, the spirit of the diesels lingers here. This is the heart of the U-boat, its source of power and speed when on the surface. And it is your responsibility. Your watch partner, a grizzled veteran named Klaus, gives you a weary nod as you arrive. His face is slick with sweat and streaked with grease. His eyes are red-rimmed from exhaustion. "Alice in warning," he grunts. "All in order." He briefs you on the status of the machinery in a low monotone, a litany of pressures and temperatures that you have long since memorized. He talks about a minor oil leak in the starboard engine, a valve that needs tightening. Nothing serious, but something to keep an eye on. He claps you on the shoulder, a gesture that is both a transfer of responsibility and a sign of camaraderie. Then he is gone, squeezing past you to make his own journey forward, towards the promise of a few hours of fitful sleep in a warm, stinking bunk. And now, you are alone with the machines. Or rather, you are on watch with the electric motors. The two massive diesel engines are silent for now, their bulk filling the cramped space. They are beasts of steel and oil, a tangled mass of pipes, cylinders, and gauges. Every surface is coated in a thin film of greasy grime. You run your hand along a guardrail, and it comes away slick and black. The electric motors, in contrast, are quieter, more refined. Their steady hum is the soundtrack to your submerged life. Your job during this watch is one of observation and maintenance. You are a nursemaid to these machines. You begin your routine, a slow, methodical circuit of the compartment. Your weapon is an oil can and a wrench. Your eyes, accustomed to the dim light, scan the complex array of dials on the control panel. Oil pressure, battery charge, engine temperature, revolutions per minute. Each needle must be in its proper place. A flicker in the wrong direction could signal a catastrophic failure. You move to the starboard diesel, the one Klaus mentioned. You find the source of the leak, a small, dark stain spreading from a joint in a copper pipe. The drip is slow, almost hypnotic. Drip, 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 a tiny black tear on the steel deck plate below. You take your wrench from its loop on your belt. The steel of the tool is cold and heavy in your hand. You position it over the offending nut, your muscles tensing as you apply pressure. The nut resists for a moment, then gives with a satisfying groan. You tighten it until it will turn no more, then wipe the joint clean with a rag. The rag is already filthy, but it does the job. You will watch this spot for the rest of your shift, a small victory in a war of entropy. The hours pass with agonizing slowness. There is no day or night in this submerged world, only the endless cycle of the watch. Your world is reduced to this small, hot, vibrating room. The hum of the motors is your universe. You check the gauges again. And again. You listen to the sounds of the machinery, your ear trained to detect any change in pitch or rhythm, any new click or whir that might signal trouble. You are a doctor listening to the heartbeat of your patient. This monotony is a strange kind of torture. Your mind, starved of stimulus, begins to wander. You think of home. You see your mother's face, her hands kneading dough in the kitchen. You can almost smell the baking bread, a clean, wholesome scent that is a world away from the stench of your current reality. You think of the girl you left behind, the one who promised to wait. You picture her walking by the river, the sunlight in her hair. Are these memories real, or are they just fantasies you've constructed to keep the despair at bay? The line between memory and dream becomes blurred in the endless twilight of the deep. A sudden lurch of the boat snaps you back to the present. The deck tilts sharply, and you have to grab onto a pipe to keep your balance. A loose wrench clatters to the floor. The boat is changing depth, or perhaps altering course to avoid a suspected threat. You feel a familiar knot of anxiety tighten in your stomach. Are they hunting us? Has a destroyer picked up our scent? You listen, straining your ears for the one sound that every U-boat man dreads. The high-pitched, rhythmic ping of an enemy's active sonar. The sound that means they know where you are. The sound that is the prelude to the depth charges. But tonight, there is only silence. The boat levels out. The gentle hum of the motors resumes its steady rhythm. A false alarm, or perhaps a near miss. You will never know. You are just a cog in the machine, a hand in the engine room. You are not privy to the secrets of the control room. Your job is to keep the heart beating, to trust that the brain knows what it is doing. You continue your rounds, your movements slow and deliberate. You check the lubrication levels, topping up the oil where necessary. The oil is thick and dark, and the smell of it is nauseating. You check the cooling systems, the flow of water that keeps the motors from overheating. The pipes are cold to the touch, sweating with condensation. Time stretches and compresses. An hour can feel like a minute, and a minute can feel like an eternity. You lose track of the date, the day of the week. The outside world, the world of sun and sky and seasons, has ceased to exist. There is only the boat. The boat is your mother and your tomb. It protects you from the crushing pressure of the sea, but it also imprisons you in its dark, metallic womb. You think about the water outside. 150 meters of it. A column of black, freezing water pressing down on every square inch of the hull. You can feel the pressure in the air, in your ears. The boat groans and creaks around you, a living thing complaining under the strain. It is a constant reminder of how thin the line is between life and death. A single faulty weld, a single buckled plate, and the sea would rush in, an unstoppable torrent that would crush you in an instant. It is a thought you try to push away, but it is always there, lurking in the back of your mind. Your watch is finally nearing its end. You can feel it in the subtle shift of your body's rhythm, the growing weight of exhaustion in your limbs. Your replacement, a young sailor named Eric, arrives. He is barely 18, his face still holding the soft roundness of youth. His eyes are wide, still not fully accustomed to this life. You can see the fear in them, a fear he tries to hide behind a mask of bravado. You give him the same briefing Klaus gave you. You tell him about the tightened valve, about the state of the batteries, about the steady hum of the motors. You clap him on the shoulder, the same ritual of transfer. As you squeeze past him to leave, you can smell the faint scent of soap on his skin. He must have washed recently, a small act of defiance against the filth of this place. The thought makes you feel tired, ancient. You have long since given up on such vanities. You are part of the boat now, and the boat is not clean. Your journey back to your bunk is the reverse of your earlier trip. You pass through the control room again. The scene is unchanged. The same men, frozen in the same postures of intense focus. The captain is still there, a statue carved from shadow and resolve. You wonder if he ever sleeps. You move forward, back into the cloying air of the sleeping quarters. The smell of unwashed bodies seems stronger now. Or maybe you are just more sensitive to it after the relative purity of the engine room's diesel-scented air. You find your bunk. The man who used it while you were on watch is gone, but the blanket is still warm. You strip off your heavy boots, your grease-stained trousers, your clammy shirt. You are left in your woolen undergarments, which are as damp and smelly as everything else. You crawl into the narrow space, your body aching with fatigue. You pull the rough blanket up to your chin. The wool is scratchy against your skin. You close your eyes, but sleep does not come immediately. The hum of the electric motors is still in your ears, a phantom vibration in your skull. You can hear the man in the bunk below you coughing, a deep, rattling cough that speaks of dampness and infected lungs. You can hear the gentle sloshing of the bilge water beneath the deck plates. You can hear the distant, rhythmic creak of the hull as it flexes under the immense pressure of the deep. These are the lullabies of the U-boat. You lie there, suspended in the darkness, a sarcophagus of steel, your only reality. You are a ghost in a machine, haunting the depths of a hostile ocean, and you pray for a sleep that will take you, for a few precious hours, somewhere else. Eventually, the exhaustion wins. The sounds of the boat fade into a dull, monotonous drone. The darkness behind your eyelids deepens, and you slip once more into the shallow, dreamless void. The awakening is violent. Not a hand on the shoulder this time, but a sound. A series of deafening, earth-shattering explosions that seem to come from all directions at once. The entire boat lurches sideways, throwing you hard against the curved steel of the hull. Your head connects with a pipe, and a flash of white-hot pain erupts behind your eyes. The red emergency lights flicker and die, plunging the compartment into absolute, terrifying blackness. Men are shouting, screaming. A high-pitched, animal wail of pure terror cuts through the chaos. The air is suddenly filled with the sharp, acrid smell of ozone and something else, something burning. Another explosion, closer this time. The deck plates jump beneath you, and a shower of cork insulation and paint flakes rains down from the overhead. You can hear the shriek of tortured metal, the sound of the boat's very bones crying out in agony. Depth charges. They've found you. The thought is a shard of ice in your gut. You scramble out of your bunk, your feet landing in a pool of icy water. Water. Where is it coming from? The boat is hit. The lights flicker back on, dim and unsteady, casting a hellish, strobing glare on the scene of panic. A man is trying to climb out of his bunk, his eyes wide with madness, clawing at the empty air. Another is on his knees, praying or perhaps just paralyzed with fear. You can hear the frantic ringing of the alarm bells from the control room, a sound that is almost drowned out by the thunder of the explosions and the panicked shouts of the men. Rue, Rue, a voice of authority cuts through the noise. It's the senior petty officer, a man with a face like a weathered rock. He has a wrench in his hand, and his eyes are blazing. Get to your stations, now. His command has a sobering effect. The training kicks in. The panic recedes, replaced by the cold, familiar adrenaline of action. You are a machine, and this is what you were built for. You pull on your boots, not bothering with the laces. You stumble out of the compartment, joining a stream of men moving aft. The corridor is chaos. Men are pushing, shoving, their faces pale masks of fear in the flickering light. Another blast, the most violent yet. The boat seems to lift out of the water and then slam down again. You are thrown against the bulkhead, the air knocked from your lungs. The lights go out again, and this time they stay out. The only illumination comes from the sparks showering down from a ruptured electrical conduit. The roar of the explosions is replaced by a new, more terrifying sound, the high-pitched squeal of water spraying under immense pressure. A leak, a serious one. Someone screams that the aft torpedo room is flooding. You feel a surge of primal fear. The boat is dying, and you are trapped inside it. You push forward, crawling over a tangle of fallen equipment. You have to get to the engine room. That is your place. That is your duty. You are guided by instinct, by the memory of the path burned into your mind. The air grows hotter, thicker. You can hear the frantic shouts of the engineering crew ahead. You finally burst into the diesel room. It's a vision from hell. A main water pipe has burst, and a solid jet of seawater is blasting across the compartment, shorting out electrical panels and filling the air with a thick, choking steam. Men are yelling, trying to reach a valve, but the force of the water is too strong. The deck is already ankle-deep in swirling, oily water. The hum of the electric motors has been replaced by a sickening, grinding noise. They are failing. Klaus, your old watch partner, is there. He sees you, his eyes wide. He shoves a massive wrench into your hands. The seacock. We have to close the main seacock, he screams over the din. It's a suicide mission. The valve is on the other side of the compartment, directly in the path of the high-pressure spray. But it's the only chance. If they can't stop the flooding, the boat will never regain control. It will sink until the pressure crushes it like a tin can. You nod, your throat too tight to speak. You and Klaus move together, heads down, pushing against the torrent of water. The force is unbelievable, like a solid wall. It's freezing cold, a shocking contrast to the steam-filled heat of the room. It knocks you off your feet, but Klaus hauls you up. You can't see. You can only feel your way along the vibrating hull, your hands searching for the familiar shape of the valve wheel. You find it. It's huge, made of brass. It's supposed to be turned by two men. You and Klaus put your hands on it, your fingers overlapping. You push. It doesn't budge. It's frozen with corrosion or damaged by the explosions. You put your shoulders into it, your muscles screaming in protest. The water is rising. It's up to your knees now. The grinding of the motors gets louder, then stops with a final, dying groan. The only sounds now are the roar of the incoming water and the frantic shouts of the men. The boat gives a sudden, violent lurch, its nose pitching steeply downwards. You are sinking. Fast. You and Klaus give one last, desperate heave. The wheel groans, then turns. Just a centimeter. But it moves. You push again, all of your strength, all of your fear, all of your desperate will to live focused on this single point, this single act. The wheel turns again, and again. The flow of water lessens, the roar diminishing to a hiss. You've done it. You've slowed the flood. But it's not enough. The boat is still angled steeply downwards, still sinking into the abyss. The water is up to your waist. It's cold, so cold. It saps the strength from your limbs. You can hear commands being shouted from the control room. Blow all tanks. Emergency surface. There is a loud hiss of compressed air, a sound of hope. The boat shudders, its descent slowing. For a moment, you think you might make it. The angle lessens. You are fighting your way back to the surface. Then comes the final, crushing blow. Not a depth charge, but a different kind of explosion. A deep, internal implosion. A bulkhead further aft has given way under the pressure. The boat groans, a long, terrible sound of final surrender. The angle of the deck steepens once more, this time irreversibly. The lights are gone for good. The shouts of the men are replaced by a new sound, the sound of the ocean rushing in from all sides, a triumphant, final roar. The water is at your chest now, impossibly cold. It is a solid weight, pushing you back, pinning you against the silent diesel engines. Klaus is gone, washed away in the torrent. You are alone in the roaring, churning darkness. You open your mouth to scream, but the icy salt water fills it, choking you. Your lungs are on fire. The pressure is immense, a giant hand squeezing the life from you. Your last sensation is the feeling of the cold steel of the engine at your back. The machine you tended to, the machine that was your life, now your tombstone. The darkness behind your eyes is absolute now, and the roaring of the water fades, replaced by a quiet, final silence. You are falling into the endless, silent dark of the deep. There is no more boat, no more crew, no more war. There is only the cold, and the pressure, and the long, slow drift down into the blackness. The first hint of a new day, or what passes for it in the timeless gloom of the submarine, is not a change in light but a change in routine. You feel the familiar vibration through the hull long before you hear the order. It is the deep, resonant thunder of the diesel engines firing up, one after the other. The entire boat shudders to life, a beast awakening from a long slumber. The gentle, almost soothing hum of the electric motors that has been the soundtrack to your submerged existence is replaced by a raw, mechanical roar that vibrates through your very soul. This can only mean one thing. You are on the surface. After days spent in the stale, recycled air of the depths, the prospect of fresh air is a powerful lure, a promise of something pure in this world of filth and steel. Your watch in the engine room has just ended, and you are officially off duty, but sleep is the last thing on your mind. You join the small, informal queue of men waiting for their turn to go up to the conning tower. It's an unspoken privilege, granted in short bursts to men who have spent days breathing in their own exhalations. Each man is allowed only a few minutes. A few precious moments to feel the wind, to see the stars, to remember that there is a world beyond this cramped, smelly tube. The wait is agonizing. You stand in the narrow passageway, your body swaying with the more pronounced roll of the boat on the surface waves. You can already smell the difference in the air trickling down the hatch. It's thin and sharp and carries the clean, briny tang of salt and cold water. It is the most beautiful perfume in the world. Finally, it's your turn. You climb the steep, narrow ladder up into the conning tower. The space is even more cramped than the compartments below. A tight cylinder of steel filled with the periscopes, the attack computer, and the command crew. The captain is there, his face illuminated by the faint glow of the instruments. He doesn't acknowledge you. His attention is fixed on the world outside. The lookout, bundled in heavy, waterproof gear, scans the horizon with powerful binoculars, his breath pluming in the cold air. You climb the final few rungs and push your head and shoulders out of the main hatch. The shock of the cold is breathtaking. The night air hits you like a physical blow, a slap in the face that is both painful and exhilarating. It is a clean cold, a pure cold, utterly different from the damp, miasmic chill of the boat's interior. You gasp, your lungs filling with air that tastes of freedom. It is so fresh it almost hurts, a scouring sensation after the thick, soupy atmosphere below. You grip the slick, wet railing of the bridge and pull yourself up. The world that greets you is one of sublime, terrifying emptiness. The sky above is a vast, infinite canopy of black velvet, punctured by the impossibly bright, sharp pinpricks of a million stars. There is no moon, and the only light comes from the faint, phosphorescent glow of the boat's wake churning behind you. The sea is a heaving mass of black water, rising and falling in long, slow swells. The U-boat plows through the waves, its narrow deck awash with spray. The wind whips at your face, tearing at your clothes, filling your ears with its mournful howl. It is a wild, untamed world, and you are a tiny, insignificant speck within it. But you feel alive. For the first time in days, you feel truly, vibrantly alive. Your skin tingles, your senses, dulled by the monotony below, are overwhelmed. You can taste the salt on your lips. You can feel the sting of the spray on your cheeks. You can see the distant, ghostly shapes of clouds moving across the starfield. You take another deep breath, and another, trying to flush the stench of the boat from your body, trying to store up this purity, this sense of space, in your memory. You know it will have to last you for days, perhaps weeks. Your few minutes are up all too quickly. The next man is waiting at the ladder, his face eager. You give him a nod and begin your descent, back down into the machine. As you lower yourself through the hatch, you take one last look at the stars, burning them into your memory. Then the heavy steel hatch clangs shut above you, and the world of the living is once more sealed away. The darkness and the roar of the diesels welcome you back. Descending into the boat is like re-entering a tomb. The air immediately feels thick and warm and foul after the crispness of the night. The smell of diesel and unwashed bodies assaults your nostrils, a stench you hadn't even noticed until you were away from it. The transition is jarring. a brutal reminder of your reality. You are not a creature of the wind and stars. You are a creature of steel and oil. You make your way forward, back towards your bunk. The boat is a different animal on the surface. The roar of the engines is a constant, deafening presence. The deck plates vibrate with a powerful, rhythmic energy. Every conversation must be shouted. It is a world of noise and motion. You pass the galley, a tiny alcove where the cook is preparing the next meal. The smell of frying sausage and onions now mingles with the diesel fumes, adding another layer to the boat's complex olfactory profile. The cook, a cheerful, overweight man who seems immune to the general misery, gives you a wink and a greasy smile. He holds up a sausage on a fork, an offering. You shake your head. You have no appetite. The clean air has filled you up in a way that food cannot. You reach your bunk and collapse into it. Sleep should be easy after the exhaustion of your watch and the sensory overload of the bridge, but it eludes you. Your mind is too active. The roar of the diesels is a physical presence, a weight on your chest. The bunk vibrates, a constant, mechanical massage that is more agitating than soothing. You lie there, your eyes open in the darkness, replaying your moments on the bridge. The memory of the stars is a fragile treasure, something you clutch at in the darkness. You try to hold onto the feeling of the wind on your face, the vastness of the ocean. But the reality of the boat keeps intruding. The smell of your own unwashed body. The scratchiness of the woolen blanket. The sound of the man in the bunk above you grinding his teeth in his sleep. You are trapped, a prisoner in a cell of your own making, or rather, a cell of the Reich's making. You are serving the fatherland, they told you. You are the tip of the spear. But out here, in the middle of this vast, empty ocean, such grand notions seem absurd. There is no glory here. There is only the noise, the smell, the dampness, and the fear. The fear is a constant, low-level hum, like the electric motors. It's always there, in the back of your mind. Fear of the depth charges, fear of the patrol planes that can appear out of nowhere, fear of a catastrophic mechanical failure. But there is also a more insidious fear. The fear of this life stretching on forever. The fear of losing yourself, of becoming just another part of the machine, another ghost in the steel shell. Eventually, the relentless vibration and the sheer weight of fatigue begin to wear you down. Your thoughts become muddled, indistinct. The roar of the diesels becomes a dull, hypnotic drone. Your body, aching for rest, finally begins to yield. You drift into a state that is not quite sleep, but not quite wakefulness either. A gray twilight of the mind, where fragmented dreams mix with the reality of the boat's incessant motion. You dream of green fields and sun-warmed earth. You dream of walking on a quiet country lane, the only sound the chirping of birds. But the dream is tainted. The ground beneath your feet begins to vibrate, and the chirping of the birds deepens into a mechanical roar. The blue sky above you turns to a low, curved ceiling of gray steel. You wake up with a start, your heart pounding. The dream has faded, but the roar remains. It is the sound of your life. There is no escape, not even in sleep. You resign yourself to it. You close your eyes again, this time not seeking dreams, but only oblivion. You focus on the vibration, letting it fill your consciousness, letting it become everything. You let the roar of the engines wash over you, a river of sound that carries you away from thought, away from memory, away from fear. You are floating in a sea of noise, and slowly, gently, you begin to sink. The call to action stations rips you from your slumber. It's not the gentle shake of a watch change, but the harsh, insistent clang of the alarm bell, accompanied by a voice over the boat's intercom, sharp and urgent. Alarm, Tauchen, dive. The order galvanizes the boat into a frenzy of controlled chaos. The roar of the diesels cuts out abruptly, plunging the boat into a sudden, shocking silence. In that brief moment of quiet, you can hear the frantic shouts of the lookouts on the bridge as they scramble down the hatch, the heavy clang as it's sealed behind them. Then, a new sound. The loud, roaring hiss of the ballast tanks flooding with water. The boat, which had been riding the waves, now begins its precipitous descent into the deep. The deck tilts forward at a steep angle, and you have to grab your bunk to keep from sliding onto the floor. Men are moving everywhere, a frantic but purposeful ballet of bodies in the narrow confines of the boat. Everyone has a station, a role to play in the critical moments of the dive. Your station is the engine room, but not for the diesels this time. Your battle station is damage control and support for the electric motors. You pull on your boots and join the stream of men moving aft. The atmosphere has changed completely. The languor of the surface patrol is gone, replaced by a tense, focused energy. Every man's face is a mask of concentration. The boat is still angled sharply downwards, and you have to brace yourself with every step, moving from handhold to handhold. You reach the control room. It is a hive of activity. The captain is at the periscope, which has been hastily lowered. He snaps out orders in a calm, clipped voice that belies the urgency of the situation. Depth 30 meters. Level her out. Rig for silent running. The helmsmen spin their wheels, their knuckles white. The chief engineer barks confirmations. Tanks are flooded, Chilean. Diving planes are set. Electric motors engaged. You squeeze past them, ducking under the maze of pipes, and enter the engine room. It's a different world from when you left it. The thundering diesels are silent, and the soft hum of the electric motors has taken over. The air is still hot, but the frantic energy of the surface run has been replaced by a new kind of tension, the tension of the hunt. Report. The engineering officer, Lieutenant Herrick, shouts as you arrive. He's a stern, humorless man, but he knows his machinery better than anyone. Mayat reporting for duty. Herr Lieutenant. You shout back, your voice sounding thin in the humming quiet. Check the shaft seals. Check the battery connections. I want no unnecessary noise. The lives of this crew depend on it. Rigging for silent running is a painstaking process. Every potential source of noise must be eliminated. Loose plates are secured. Non-essential machinery is shut down. The crew is ordered to move as little as possible, to speak only in whispers. You become a ghost, a phantom in your own ship. The U-boat is no longer an aggressive predator. It is now the prey, trying to become invisible, to melt into the surrounding ocean. You get to work, your movements slow and deliberate. You move to the propeller shafts where they pass through the pressure hull. This is a critical point. A noisy seal could betray your position as surely as a broadcast signal. You run your hands over the packing glands, feeling for any excessive vibration, listening for any telltale squeak or groan. The shafts turn with a smooth, almost silent grace. The seals are holding. You move to the massive banks of batteries that power the electric motors. They take up a huge portion of the aft compartments, a city of lead and acid. You check the thick copper bus bars that connect them, ensuring every bolt is tight. A loose connection could arc, creating a sound that would be fatally audible to the sensitive hydrophones of a nearby destroyer. The boat has leveled out now, moving with a silent, ghostly glide through the deep water. The only sound is the faint hum of the motors and the soft hiss of the air circulators. The tension in the engine room is thick enough to taste. Every man is frozen at his post, listening. Listening for the sound that will tell you if your dive was fast enough. Listening for the asterisk ping. And then it comes. Faint at first, a distant, almost musical note. Ping. A pause. Then again, closer this time, more distinct. Ping. It is the sound of an enemy's active sonar, the ASDIC, sweeping the depths, searching for you. It is the sound of a blind man tapping his cane in a dark room, and you are the furniture he is about to trip over. The sound seems to bypass your ears and register directly in your spine. A cold dread spreads through your limbs. They are close. They know you are here somewhere. The hunt has begun. The voice of the captain comes over the intercom, low and steady, a rock of calm in a sea of fear. All hands, silent running. No movement, no talking. The hum of the air circulators cuts out, plunging the boat into an even deeper, more profound silence. Now, the only sound is the almost inaudible whir of the propeller shafts and the frantic beating of your own heart. The air immediately begins to feel thick and stagnant. Sweat beads on your forehead, not just from the heat of the engine room, but from sheer terror. Ping. The sound is louder now, sharper. It feels as though it is right outside the hull. You can almost feel the vibration of the sound wave as it strikes the steel, a physical touch from your hunter. You instinctively duck your head, as if you could hide from the sound. You look at the other men in the compartment. Their faces are pale, their eyes wide. A young sailor next to you is silently reciting a prayer, his lips moving without making a sound. Lieutenant Herrick stands like a statue, his eyes closed, his head cocked as if he can pinpoint the enemy's location by the sound alone. Time ceases to have meaning. You are suspended in a state of pure, agonizing suspense. Every creak of the hull, every gurgle of the bilge water, sounds like a gunshot in the crushing silence. You hold your breath, willing yourself to be smaller, quieter, to simply cease to exist. Ping. It is directly overhead. They are right on top of you. You brace yourself for the inevitable. Your muscles tense, your knuckles are white where you grip a nearby handrail. The waiting is the worst part. The knowing, the anticipation of the blow. And then it comes. It is not a sharp crack, but a deep, gut-wrenching whump that seems to compress the very air in the boat. The explosion is close, but not a direct hit. The entire U-boat is lifted and shaken violently, like a rat in a dog's jaws. Tools clatter from their racks. A single, naked bulb in a wire cage shatters, showering the deck with glass. The deck plates shudder beneath your feet. You are thrown against a bulkhead, your shoulder taking the impact. A second explosion follows, further away. And a third. They are bracketing you, dropping a pattern of depth charges, trying to catch you in their net of high explosives. The captain's voice comes again, still impossibly calm. Damage report. Lieutenant Herrick is already moving, a flashlight in his hand, his eyes scanning every pipe and joint. Engine room reports no apparent damage, Chilean. All systems are holding. The reports come in from the other compartments. A few minor leaks in the forward section, but nothing critical. The boat is strong. It has survived the first salvo. But the hunt is not over. The pinging resumes, relentless, systematic. They are tracking you, circling like sharks. You know what is happening in the control room. The captain will be trying to deceive them, changing course, changing depth, trying to slip away into a thermal layer. A pocket of colder water that can confuse the sonar. But you are a big, noisy metal object in an environment where silence is life. Hiding is not easy. The air in the boat is becoming foul. Without the purifiers running, the carbon dioxide level is rising. Your breathing is becoming labored. Your head thrums with a dull ache. The heat is oppressive. Sweat runs in rivers down your back and chest, soaking your clothes. The combination of fear, heat, and bad air is making you nauseous. Another pattern of depth charges. Whump, whump, whump. These ones are closer. The boat screams under the strain. The lights flicker violently. You hear the high-pitched squeal of a seam giving way, followed by the hiss of a new water leak. Someone shouts from the aft battery compartment. Chlorine gas. We have a leak in the battery cells. This is the nightmare scenario. Seawater mixing with the battery acid creates deadly chlorine gas. It is a poison that can kill the entire crew in minutes. Seal the compartment. Herrick bellows. Get the breathing masks. Men scramble to obey. You can hear the heavy thud of the watertight door to the battery room being sealed. But the faint, acrid smell of chlorine, like bleach, is already in the air. You fumble for the breathing mask that hangs on the bulkhead. It's a clumsy rubber contraption with a canister filter. You pull it over your face, the rubber pressing cold and tight against your skin. You suck in a breath. The air tastes metallic, filtered, but it is air. The sounds of the world are now muffled, distant, heard through the rubber hood. Your own breathing is a loud, ragged sound in your ears. The boat lurches again as the captain orders a sharp turn. He is getting desperate. You are a wounded animal, leaving a trail of blood in the water. The pinging is merciless, a hammer tapping on the coffin lid. You huddle in your corner of the engine room, a faceless figure in a gas mask, listening to the world end. You have lost all track of time. Has it been minutes? Hours? You are living in a state of suspended animation, a continuous moment of pure terror. The heat is unbearable inside the mask. Your face is slick with sweat. Your vision, seen through the small plastic eyepieces, is blurry and distorted. You are looking at a world gone mad. Another series of explosions, this time right on top of you. The concussion is immense. It feels as though the hand of God has slammed down on the boat. You are lifted off your feet and thrown across the compartment. Your head hits something hard, and the world explodes in a flash of white. You are floating in a sea of pain and confusion. The roaring in your ears is deafening. The boat is screaming, a chorus of groaning, tearing metal. The deck is angled at an impossible degree. Water is pouring in, not from a small leak, but from a gaping wound in the hull. The lights are gone. The darkness is absolute. The end has come. Through the roaring in your ears, you can hear the last, final command shouted from the control room, a cry of utter despair. Alle man von Bord. Every man for himself. But there is nowhere to go. The pressure outside is a crushing, absolute force. There is no escape. The water is up to your waist, cold and heavy. It rises with terrifying speed. You try to stand, but your legs won't obey. The last thing you feel is the icy water closing over your head. The last thing you hear is the final, agonizing groan of the steel hull as it gives up its long fight and implores, surrendering to the vast, unforgiving pressure of the deep. There is a final, blinding flash of pressure, and then, nothing at all. Silence, and the long, slow, silent fall through the black water. You exist in a state of perpetual twilight, a slow-motion dream from which you can never truly awaken. The days bleed into one another, marked only by the changing shifts of the watch and the rhythmic cycle of diving and surfacing. Life has been stripped down to its barest essentials: work, eat, sleep. And wait. Always, the waiting. Waiting for an order, waiting for a contact, waiting for the end of the patrol. It has been weeks since you left port. Weeks since you saw the sun. Your skin has taken on a pale, unhealthy pallor, the color of a plant that has been kept in a cellar. Your world has shrunk to the curved, sweating walls of this steel tube. You know every pipe, every valve, every stain on the bulkhead. This boat is your universe, and it is a universe that smells of diesel, stale air, and quiet desperation. Your current watch is in the aft torpedo room. Unlike the forward compartment where you sleep, this space is dedicated solely to the machinery of death. The single stern torpedo tube dominates the room, its polished bronze breech door gleaming dully in the dim light. A spare torpedo, a long, green-painted cylinder of latent destruction, is slung in its rack above you, a constant, silent companion. Your job here is simple, and mind-numbingly repetitive. You monitor the tube's pressure gauges. You polish the brass fittings. You check the lubrication on the firing mechanism. It is work that requires little thought, and that is a small mercy. It allows your mind to drift. You sit on a small fold-down stool, a greasy rag in your hand, and you polish. You work in slow, circular motions, watching the dull metal gradually brighten under your efforts. The repetitive physical action is a form of meditation. It keeps the darker thoughts at bay. The boat is submerged, running silent on the electric motors. The familiar, low hum is a constant presence. It is the sound of your life now, as natural and as unnoticed as the beat of your own heart. But today, the hum is different. There is a new sound layered beneath it, a faint, rhythmic thump thump thump. It is a sound you have come to recognize over the past few days. It is the sound of a propeller. A single propeller. A merchant ship. For 3 days, you have been stalking this ship. The captain has been a shadow, a wolf tracking a wounded deer. He has been patient, waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect position. The tension in the boat has been slowly building. It's not the sharp, panicked terror of a depth charge attack, but a slow-burning, predatory excitement. The crew is on edge, their movements sharp, their voices low and clipped. There is a sense of purpose in the air, a welcome change from the aimless monotony of the patrol. The intercom crackles to life, the voice of the first watch officer cutting through the low hum. Stand by for surface attack. All non-essential personnel, remain in your compartments. The order is expected, but it still sends a jolt of adrenaline through you. A surface attack. At night. It is a risky maneuver, but the captain prefers it. It allows him to use the superior speed of the diesel engines, to strike fast and then disappear into the darkness. You feel the boat begin to change its attitude. The gentle, almost imperceptible downward tilt of the dive is replaced by a slow, upward cant. You are heading for the surface. You can hear the sounds of preparation from the control room. The whir of the periscope being raised for a final look. The low murmur of the captain confirming the target's course and speed. The click and whir of the analog computer as the firing solution is calculated. Your job in this is small, but vital. You are to stand by the stern tube, to be ready in case the captain decides on a parting shot as you withdraw. You stand up, your rag forgotten. You place your hand on the cold, solid breech of the torpedo tube. You can feel the slight vibration of the motors through the steel. Your heart is pounding in your chest, a frantic drumbeat against the steady hum of the boat. Surface, surface, surface. The command is sharp, urgent. The roar of the ballast tanks being blown is a violent eruption of noise, a deafening hiss of compressed air that makes the entire boat shudder. The upward angle increases sharply. You have to brace yourself against the bulkhead to keep your footing. You are rising like a rocket. Then, with a final lurch, you break the surface. The change is immediate and dramatic. The roar of the diesels kicks in, a deafening thunder that replaces the quiet hum of the electrics. The boat comes alive, vibrating with a new, aggressive energy. You can hear the shouts of the bridge crew as they scramble out of the conning tower hatch, the sounds carried down the open tube. You are racing across the surface, a gray wolf in the night. You stand by your post, your senses on high alert. You cannot see what is happening, but you can imagine it. The captain on the bridge, his binoculars pressed to his eyes. The target, a dark shape on the horizon, silhouetted against the faint starlight, blissfully unaware of the fate that is bearing down upon it. The moments stretch into an eternity. You are a coiled spring, a drawn bowstring. Rohr 1, los. Fire tube 1. The command is for the forward tubes, but you feel it as if it were your own. There is a slight shudder as the compressed air ejects the first torpedo. A moment of silence. Rohr sway, los. The second eel is away. Now comes the worst part. The waiting. The torpedoes are in the water, racing invisibly towards their target. They are beyond your control now, instruments of fate. How long does it take? A minute? 2? In the supercharged atmosphere of the boat, it feels like a lifetime. You count the seconds in your head, each one a lead weight. The roar of the diesels is the only sound, a constant, thunderous backdrop to the silent drama playing out across the dark water. You strain your ears, listening for a sound that will have to travel for miles to reach you. And then it comes. A low, distant boom asterisk. A sound that you feel in the pit of your stomach more than you hear with your ears. A hit, a wave of elation, fierce and primal, sweeps through the boat. You can hear a muffled cheer from the forward compartments. A single, triumphant shout. You have drawn blood. A second boom follows, louder this time, more satisfying. The second torpedo has also found its mark. The intercom crackles again. It is the captain's voice, but it is different now. It is not the calm, measured voice of the hunt, but the sharp, ecstatic voice of the kill. She's going down. She's breaking in two. Another cheer ripples through the boat. You allow yourself a small, tight smile. You have done your job. You are a warrior. You are victorious. The moment of triumph is short-lived. The captain's voice cuts through the elation, sharp and cold once more. Alarm. Aircraft spotted. Tauchen, Tauchen, Tauchen. The joy turns to ice in your veins. An aircraft. Out here. At night. It must be from an escort carrier, a hunter-killer group. The merchant ship was bait. And you have taken it. The entire sequence of events replays itself in a horrifying, beautiful, terrible ballet of destruction and retribution. The diesels cut out. The klaxon blares. The tanks flood. The deck tilts. The boat plunges back into the safety of the depths. But you know, with a sickening certainty, that there is no safety to be found. They know exactly where you are. Your attack was your death warrant. The triumphant roar of the diesels is replaced by the terrified silence of the dive. And as the boat slips beneath the waves, you hear the first, faint, familiar ping of the sonar. The hunters have become the hunted. The cycle begins anew. The silence that follows the dive is heavier, more oppressive than ever before. The brief, violent ecstasy of the attack has evaporated, leaving behind a residue of cold, stark fear. The ping of the sonar is a metronome, counting down the final moments of your life. It is more persistent this time, more confident. There is no searching. They know where you are. The boat is rigged for silent running, but it feels like a pointless charade. You are a goldfish in a bowl, and the cat is watching. You have returned to your post in the aft torpedo room, but you are not polishing brass now. You are simply sitting on your stool in the dim, red light, listening. Every man in the boat is listening. The air is thick with the unspoken question. Will this be the one? Will this be the attack that finally breaks us? The first pattern of depth charges is a formality. They are ranging shots, designed to intimidate, to confirm your location. They explode far enough away that the boat merely shudders, a tremor of fear running through its steel frame. But you know it is just a prelude. The main performance is yet to come. The pinging stops. This is the most terrifying moment. The silence means they are directly overhead. They have stopped searching and are now preparing to drop their deadly payload. You can imagine the scene on the destroyer above. The sailors rolling the heavy, barrel-shaped charges off the stern racks, the countdown, the release. You hold your breath. Your knuckles are white where you grip the edge of your stool. The world explodes. It is not a sound, but a physical concussion that crushes you, a force that liquefies your insides. The boat is thrown onto its side, the angle so steep that you are flung from your stool, slamming into the torpedoes slung in the racks above. The steel of the torpedo is cold and hard against your cheek. The lights don't just flicker, they shatter. The compartment is plunged into an absolute, impenetrable blackness. You can hear the boat screaming. It is a sound you will never forget, the high-pitched, tearing shriek of metal plates being bent and ripped apart. It is the sound of a living thing dying in agony. You can hear the roar of water. Not a leak this time, but a flood. The hull is breached, fatally. Men are screaming, their voices thin and reedy against the overwhelming roar. The boat is no longer a vessel. It is a sinking, broken coffin. The deck, or what was the deck, is now a nearly vertical wall. You are clinging to the torpedo rack, your fingers losing their grip on the slick, greasy steel. Below you, in the darkness, you can hear men being washed away, their screams abruptly cut off as the water swallows them. The pressure in your ears is building, a sharp, stabbing pain. The boat is sinking like a stone, plunging into the crushing depths. You know that this is the end. There is no hope of survival. No blowing of ballast tanks, no desperate attempt to surface. The boat is broken. The ocean is pouring in from all sides, a final, victorious enemy. You lose your grip. You fall into the churning, icy water that is now filling the compartment. The shock of the cold is so intense it takes your breath away. You are tossed about in the darkness, a piece of flotsam in a dying machine. Your head strikes a piece of machinery. There is a flash of light, a burst of stars behind your eyes. The pain is distant, unimportant. The roaring of the water begins to fade, replaced by a strange, peaceful calm. The fear is gone. The struggle is over. You are floating in a gentle, quiet darkness. You think of your mother's kitchen, the smell of baking bread. You think of the girl by the river, the sunlight in her hair. They are beautiful, peaceful images. They are the last things you will ever see. The darkness deepens, becomes soft, welcoming. It is like crawling into a warm bed after a long, hard day. You are tired. So very tired. You close your eyes, and the long, slow, silent fall continues, down and down, into the endless, peaceful black. The concussion throws you not forward or backward, but simply down. The steel deck plates leap upwards to meet you with the force of a blacksmith's hammer, and the air is punched from your lungs in a single, ragged gasp. For a moment, there is no sound. Only a profound, ringing pressure in your skull. The world is white noise and muted incomprehension. Then, sound and sensation return with a vengeance. It is the sound of the boat itself screaming, a chorus of groaning, shrieking metal that speaks of stresses no engineer ever intended it to withstand. Water, colder than you could possibly imagine, is spraying from a dozen new places at once. It's not the solid, roaring torrent of a fatal breach, but a fine, high-pressure mist that fills the air, instantly soaking everything and chilling you to the bone. The red emergency lights are flickering erratically, casting the engine room in a hellish, strobing rhythm that makes the chaos even more disorienting. Lieutenant Herrick is on his feet before you are, a dark silhouette against the strobing red. He is bellowing orders, but his voice is just one more sound in the cacophony. Seals. Check the main shaft seals. Get cloths on those electrical panel leaks. Move. You scramble up, your knees aching from the impact with the deck. Your training, drilled into you until it is pure instinct, takes over. Your body moves before your mind can fully process the terror. Your station is the starboard diesel to check for damage, to ensure its connections to the electric motor and the propeller shaft are intact. You move through the compartment, which is now slick with a mixture of seawater and diesel oil. It's like trying to walk on greased ice. Another explosion, further away this time, a deep, resonant whump that feels like a giant fist pounding on the ocean floor. The boat shudders in response, a wounded animal flinching from the whip. You reach the massive, silent bulk of the diesel engine. You run your hands over its cold, greasy surfaces, your fingers probing for cracks, for leaks, for anything that feels out of place. Your flashlight beam, shaky in your hand, cuts a frantic path through the gloom. Everything seems to be holding. The engine block is sound. The fuel lines are intact. But the fine mist of seawater is everywhere, and that is a danger you can see and feel. It coats every surface, and where it touches the hot, exposed terminals of the electrical systems, it vaporizes with a sharp hiss and the acrid smell of ozone. Here, a young machinist named Gunter shouts, his voice cracking with panic. The main conduit casing is split. You turn your light to where he's pointing. A thick, armored cable that carries power from the batteries to the electric motor has a hairline fracture in its casing. From this tiny crack, a steady, insidious trickle of seawater is weeping directly onto the copper bus bars below. Each drop lands with a sharp sizzle and a flash of blue-green light. It is a small problem that can quickly become a catastrophe. If a proper short circuit occurs, it could cripple the electric motor, leaving you dead in the water. Lieutenant Herrick is there in an instant. Rags. Get me dry rags. And the insulating tape. Schnell. Someone shoves a small bundle of precious, relatively dry cloths into your hands. You and Gunter work under Herrick's sharp commands, your fingers clumsy with cold and fear. You pack the rags tightly around the crack, trying to staunch the flow of water. The rags are soaked through in seconds. You pull them out and pack in fresh ones. It is a hopeless, repetitive task, like trying to bail out the ocean with a teacup. The tape, Herrick demands. You are handed a roll of thick, black rubber tape. Your job is to try and wrap the leaking conduit, to create a waterproof seal over the rags. It is nearly impossible. The surface is wet and slick. The tape won't adhere properly. You wrap it again and again, your muscles straining, pulling the rubber until it stretches and groans, trying to force it to bind to itself. The water still finds a way through, a tiny, persistent trickle. But it is less than before. It is a small victory, a moment's reprieve. The boat is still deep, running on a course of maddening, silent evasion. The pinging from the destroyer above has stopped. This is the worst kind of silence. It means they are listening. They are waiting for you to make a noise, any noise, that will betray your exact position. The order for absolute silence is passed down again. No talking, no unnecessary movement. The only sounds are the near inaudible hum of the motor, the frantic beat of your own heart, and the steady, maddening drip, 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 asterisk of water from a dozen different leaks. You stand frozen at your post, your eyes fixed on your pathetic, leaking tape and rag patch. The air is growing thick and heavy. The CO2 scrubbers have been off for hours to conserve power and reduce noise. Every breath is a conscious effort. A dull, throbbing headache has taken up permanent residence behind your eyes. The heat from the motors, combined with the humidity from the leaks, has turned the engine room into a stifling, tropical swamp. Sweat drips from your brow and stings your eyes. It feels as if you are slowly being cooked and suffocated at the same time. An hour passes, or maybe it is a lifetime. Time has no meaning in this suspended state of terror. Your world is reduced to the strobing red light, the smell of ozone and wet wool, and the sound of dripping water. You start to give each leak its own personality. There is the fast, frantic drip from a pipe overhead. There is the slow, ponderous drip from the main seacock. And there is the quiet, almost apologetic seep from your patched conduit. They are a symphony of your potential doom. The silence from above is finally broken. Another series of explosions, but they are different this time. They are not the deep, crushing blows of depth charges. They are smaller, sharper cracks. The lieutenant looks up, his head cocked. Hedgehogs, he whispers, the word a curse. It is a new weapon. A mortar that fires a pattern of small, contact-fused bombs ahead of the ship. They only explode if they hit something. They are a more efficient, more deadly way to kill a submarine. The fact that none of them exploded is a small comfort. It means they still don't have your exact position. They are firing blind, hoping for a lucky hit. The boat continues its slow, silent crawl through the abyss. The captain is a master of this deadly game. He is using every trick he knows. He changes depth, seeking out thermal layers in the water that can deflect the sonar pains. He alters course in tiny, incremental degrees. He is trying to present the smallest possible target, to become a needle in a vast, dark haystack. Thirst becomes a torment. Your mouth is dry, your tongue thick. You dream of a glass of cold water, of fresh, clean water, not the stale, metallic-tasting liquid from the boat's tanks. But drinking is a luxury you cannot afford. Every movement is a risk. Every swallow makes a sound. So you endure. You swallow the thick saliva in your mouth and try to think of other things. But the thirst is a nagging, persistent devil on your shoulder. Another eternity passes in silence. You begin to feel a faint, desperate flicker of hope. Maybe they have lost you. Maybe they have given up, their fuel running low, other duties calling them away. The thought is so tantalizing, so beautiful, that you dare not embrace it fully. It is a fragile thing that could be shattered in an instant. You find your mind wandering back home. You see your father, his face weathered and kind, mending a fishing net on the dock. You can smell the salt and the tar and the fish. You remember the feel of the rough, familiar wood of the pier beneath your bare feet. The memory is so vivid, so real, that for a moment you are there. You are not in a steel coffin at the bottom of the ocean. You are home. You are safe. A sudden, sharp lurch of the boat snaps you back to reality. The angle of the deck changes. You are going up, slowly, cautiously. The captain must believe the immediate danger has passed. He is bringing the boat to a shallower depth, perhaps to get a better sense of his surroundings, or to make a run for it. The hope in your chest grows stronger, warmer. The engine room is a hive of quiet, tense activity again. Lieutenant Herrick is checking the gauges, his face a mask of concentration. The electric motor's hum changes in pitch as it works harder to push the boat upwards. You watch your patch on the conduit. The decreased pressure seems to have slowed the leak. Another small victory. The boat levels out at 60 meters. The silence persists. There is no sonar, no explosions. The hope is now a tangible thing, a warmth spreading through your limbs. You have done it. You have survived. You have escaped. A collective, unspoken sigh of relief seems to pass through the compartment. You see Gunter flash a small, nervous smile, his teeth a white slash in his grease-stained face. The illusion is shattered by a single, terrifying sound. Ping. It is loud. It is clear. It is directly above you. They did not lose you. They were waiting. They were playing with you, a cat letting the mouse think it has escaped before delivering the final, killing blow. The despair that crashes down upon you is a physical force, heavier and more crushing than any depth charge. The flicker of hope is extinguished, plunged into an abyss of absolute certainty. This is the end. There is no escape. The order comes from the control room, no longer calm, but laced with a desperate urgency. Crash dive. All ahead flank. The boat's nose pitches down violently. The electric motor whines, pushed beyond its limits, drawing a huge surge of power from the suffering batteries. You are thrown forward, catching yourself on the frame of the diesel engine. The boat is plunging into the deep again, a desperate, final gamble. But it is too late. The destroyer is too close. The attack is already underway. You don't even have time to brace yourself. The world dissolves into a final, all-consuming roar of tearing steel and incoming water. The last thing you see is not darkness, but a brilliant, blinding flash of blue-white light as the sea and the high-voltage electricity of your machines meet in a final, apocalyptic embrace. The hours that follow are a blur of controlled desperation. The boat, though grievously wounded, is still alive. The captain, with a skill that borders on the supernatural, has somehow managed to evade the immediate, killing blows and has nursed his crippled vessel down into the crushing sanctuary of the deep. You are now at a depth that makes the engineers blanch. 250 meters. The pressure hull groans and creaks continuously, a constant, terrifying reminder that you are far beyond the limits of its design. Every popping rivet sounds like a pistol shot. Every creak of a bulkhead feels like the sky is falling. The immediate chaos of the attack has subsided, replaced by a new, more insidious kind of hell. The slow, methodical fight for survival in a broken machine that is actively trying to kill you. The engine room is a disaster zone. The water is sloshing over your boots, a cold, oily soup of seawater, diesel, and bilge filth. The air is a toxic cocktail. The chlorine leak from the damaged batteries was contained, but the air is still thick with the smell of ozone, hot metal, and the ever-present stench of fear. The temperature has dropped precipitously. The cold of the deep ocean is leaching through the hull, and the internal heating systems are offline to conserve what little power remains. A damp, penetrating chill has settled over everything, a chill that seems to emanate from your very bones. Your work is endless and repetitive. Under the grim, watchful eye of Lieutenant Herrick, you and the other engineers are engaged in a desperate battle of damage control. Your primary task has been to reinforce the patch on the main electrical conduit. The rubber tape was a temporary fix at best. Now, you are attempting something more substantial. Another machinist holds a sheet of raw, uncured rubber over the leak while you and Gunter painstakingly wrap it with layer after layer of friction tape, followed by a tight binding of tar-impregnated canvas. It's a slow, arduous process. Your fingers are numb with cold, and the slickness of the surfaces makes every movement a struggle. Your muscles ache with a deep, profound weariness. For hours, you have been working in a cramped, awkward position, your body contorted to reach the damaged section. Your back screams in protest. Your knees, pressed against the cold, hard steel of the deck, are bruised and raw. But you do not stop. You cannot stop. To stop is to die. Lieutenant Herrick moves between the work crews like a wraith, his face a grim, emotionless mask. He offers no words of encouragement, no praise. His presence alone is a spur, a silent demand for more effort, for more precision. He is as much a machine as the engines he tends, a man stripped of all sentiment, focused only on the cold, hard calculus of survival. Food and water are a distant memory. No one has eaten in what feels like days. The galley is flooded, and even if it weren't, the risk of making any noise is too great. Thirst is a physical torment. Your tongue feels like a piece of dry leather in your mouth. You eye the water sloshing around your ankles. It is tempting, so tempting, to cup your hands and drink. But you know it is a death sentence. The seawater, mixed with oil and battery acid, would poison you, leaving you to die a slow, agonizing death from cramps and dehydration. So you endure the thirst, another layer of misery in this multi-layered hell. The silence is the most unnerving part. The boat is running at its absolute quietest. The electric motor is turning at just a few revolutions per minute, enough to give you steerage way but not enough, you pray, to be heard. The crew has been ordered to remain in their bunks, to make no movement at all. The only sounds in the boat are the groans of the hull, the steady dripping of 100 leaks, and the ragged, shallow breathing of 50 terrified men. The silence stretches your nerves to the breaking point. Every sound is magnified, every creak and gurgle a potential harbinger of doom. You find yourself listening, not for the asterisk ping of sonar anymore, but for the sounds of your own ship dying. You finally finish the patch on the conduit. It is a thick, ugly bandage of rubber and canvas, but it is holding. The leak has been reduced to a slow, almost imperceptible seep. It is the best you can do. Herrick inspects your work with a critical eye, running his hand over the patch. He gives a single, curt nod. It is the highest praise you can expect from him. He gestures for you to take a break. A break. The concept is almost alien. You stumble away from the work area and collapse onto a small, upturned crate in the corner of the compartment. Your body is a symphony of aches and pains. You close your eyes for a moment, and the darkness is a welcome relief from the stark, dim light of the emergency lamps. But there is no rest. Your mind is a whirlwind of fear and exhaustion. The image of the blue-white flash from the shorting bus bars is burned onto the inside of your eyelids. You see it every time you blink. You are trapped in a feedback loop of terror, your own memory a torture device. You must have dozed off, because the next thing you know, someone is shaking your shoulder. It is Gunter. He holds out a small, wet biscuit. It is part of the emergency rations, a hard, tasteless wafer of compressed flour. The lieutenant said to eat, he whispers, his voice hoarse. You take the biscuit. It is damp and tastes faintly of diesel, but it is food. You chew it slowly, the hard bread scraping against the roof of your dry mouth. It turns to a tasteless, glutinous paste that you can barely swallow. But it is something. It is a small acknowledgement that you are still alive, that the body still has needs. The captain's strategy becomes clear even to you, a lowly machinist. He is playing dead. After the violence of the attack, he has taken the boat deep and is now drifting, silent and cold, hoping the destroyers above will assume they have sunk you and move on. It is a battle of wills, a test of patience. The question is, who will break first? The hunters above, or the hunted below? The air quality continues to deteriorate. The CO2 levels are now dangerously high. Your headache is a constant, blinding hammer behind your eyes. Your vision is blurry. You feel dizzy, nauseous. Simply standing up requires a supreme act of will. The bodies of the crew are slowly being poisoned by their own exhalations. Some of the men have started to hallucinate, muttering to themselves in the darkness, talking to wives and mothers who are 1,000 miles away. A young sailor in the forward compartment began screaming uncontrollably and had to be gagged and tied to his bunk. The psychological strain is becoming as dangerous as the physical damage to the boat. You are all descending into a collective madness, a quiet, creeping insanity born of fear, exhaustion, and suffocation. You are sent forward to check on the bilge pumps in the central control room. The journey is a trip through Dante's circles of hell. The passageways are dark, slick with oil and water. You move slowly, your hand trailing along the cold, sweating bulkhead for support. You pass men lying in their bunks, their faces pale and slick with sweat in the dim light. They look like corpses laid out in a morgue. Their eyes are open, staring blankly at the curved ceiling above them, but they see nothing. They are lost in their own private hells. You reach the control room. It is the quietest place in the boat, the nerve center where the final battle of wits is being fought. The captain is there, a statue of pure, unwavering resolve. He stands motionless, his eyes closed, his face etched with a fatigue so profound it seems to have carved lines into his very bones. But he is not defeated. He is listening, sensing, feeling the battle through the steel of the hull. The chief helmsman sits at his station, his hands resting lightly on the dive plane controls, ready to react to the slightest command. The silence in this room is absolute, holy, terrifying. It is the silence of a tomb, but it is also the silence of a predator waiting for its moment. You check the pumps. They are damaged, but perhaps repairable. You set to work, your movements slow and practiced, trying to make as little noise as possible. The soft clink of a wrench on a nut sounds like a thunderclap in the crushing silence. You work for what seems like another lifetime, your mind focused on the simple, mechanical task. It is a relief to have something to do, something to focus on other than the crushing weight of the ocean and the slow, inexorable march of your own suffocation. And then, something changes. You feel it first, a subtle shift in the boat's attitude. A vibration. You look up at the captain. His eyes are open now, and they are sharp and clear. He has felt it too. The hum of the gyroscope, which had been almost silent, is now a fraction louder. The propellers of the destroyers above are starting up again. Are they coming back for one final pass? Or are they leaving? The tension in the control room is unbearable. Every man is frozen, straining to interpret the sound. The propeller noise grows, but then it begins to recede. It is moving away, fading. You dare not breathe. You dare not hope. It could be a trick. They could be circling back. But the sound continues to fade, growing fainter and fainter, until it is gone completely. Silence. A new kind of silence. Not the tense, waiting silence of the hunted, but the empty, absolute silence of being alone. They are gone. They have given you up for dead. A long, shuddering sigh escapes your lips, a sound you were not even aware you were holding in. It is echoed by others around the room. The captain allows himself a small, almost imperceptible nod. He has won. He has stared into the abyss and made it blink. He turns to the chief engineer. His voice is a dry, cracked whisper. but it is filled with an authority that is absolute. Take us up, slowly, to periscope depth. The order is a resurrection. The chief scrambles to obey. The hiss of the pumps, as they begin to cautiously adjust the ballast, is the most beautiful sound you have ever heard. The boat begins its slow, agonizingly cautious ascent. It is a long way back to the surface. As the boat rises, the groans and creaks of the pressure hull lessen. The boat seems to be breathing a sigh of relief along with its crew. The long night is over. You have survived. You look down at your hands. They are black with grease and grime, the knuckles raw and bleeding. They are the hands of a man who has been to hell and back. You feel a wave of exhaustion so profound, so complete, that you can barely stand. The adrenaline that has kept you going for so long is gone, leaving behind a hollow, aching emptiness. You have survived, but you are not the same man who dived beneath the waves all those hours ago. A part of you is still down there, in the cold, dark water. A part of you will be trapped in that silent, suffocating abyss forever.